What's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way, and welcome to a sort of combination art challenge experiment of sorts. So, I think as many have, seen this challenge going around where I've seen multiple challenges going around, one of which I was inspired by another YouTuber to finally try, and another I've just seen on shorts overall, and I thought that it would be fun and convenient to combine them a little bit. So I have here this colorful noise that I got as an asset just from the Clip Studio store. I assume this is something similar to what the creators that I've seen use. Are you not rasterized? I thought I rasterized you. And yeah, so the first concept is something along the lines of really just like the 3 random color challenge that I've already done, with a little bit of a different like aesthetic to it, and I guess to some degree a little bit more randomness depending. I'm not totally sure. The idea being though that you take from this noise, and I think that they use the liquefy tool and they blow it up until they get a specific color from this mirage of pixels. So that seemed fun. And I also wanted to do a challenge with the Lasso fill tool, which is another thing that I've seen people doing, where they kind of draw a picture using exclusively this fill tool, which can be a little bit challenging. I've actually used this a few times for thumbnails, so I'm curious to see, like, not like thumbnails as in my YouTube videos, thumbnails as in smaller sketches when I want to go color first. So I think I have an idea as to how I'd want to use it, but overall it creates a very interesting look, and so I want to play around with it, and I thought that I would take you with me, and as an additional challenge, try and do a random 3 colors as well. And I might even do the thing where I mix them depending on what I get, to try and make something a little bit more cohesive, because we're probably going to go for a character, if not a whole piece. So let's just jump in, and I have you to join me for this first part here, because I'm going to be randomly selecting these colors in Clip like this. And what I've done is, yeah, I got this, I don't know, I looked up like random color, this noise that is labeled in Japanese that I can't read, but it's got a whole bunch of different colors, and I have a mask over all 3 of these, but I'm going to keep them inside of this little box as well. And we will, where are you? I always forget what the liquefy tool is. We just go in and we kind of blow up in one area. So I'm going to pick a relative random U. And it does this initially. But we seem to be making our way to like a purple? Like a light purple? It's relatively one color, I think. Okay, so we have our first color here is this kind of light purple with a little bit of weirdness around it, but that's okay. And for our second color, let's see if I can't do this better. This is kind of a reddish area over here. So, I mean, there is some choice involved in it, but not a whole lot. Like, I knew this was possibly a reddish color, and I think they mix a little bit. But okay, that's quite light, in fact. Not like light as in light colored, but light as in, like, pastel-ish, almost. And with the way that you see these, like, from a distance here, it looks like they're all going to be super vibrant colors, so that's interesting. I might actually make this one a little bit bigger. I guess you can kind of choose here between this lighter and darker purple. Let's go for the lighter. Just bring that to the forefront a little bit more. There we go. All right. And final selection. It makes this really weird pattern when you zoom in like this for this specific noise. I think because it wants to make it like repeat forever. Weird. But okay, we've got 3 pretty solid colors, no pun intended, but like almost complementary really. With this kind of pastel-y purple, and I only assume that they might be a little muddy because they're also being mixed a bit. Let's see, this kind of pastel-y purple, this red, and this green. Okay, and I might even do some in-betweens here. Allow myself that. So we can see we've got between the red and the green here, kind of a brown color. I think between the red and the purple will be the same. Boop. Yeah, kind of a mauve. Boop. And then between the purple and the green might just result in a gray. That would be good to have, I think. Yeah, they kind of cancel each other out and create this gray. Boop. But it's pretty gray. It's a nice gray. And this is a pretty solid color palette, like I said. It's a little messy at the moment. I'll get rid of these and pull this off to one side, and I will fiddle around a little bit with this here. Would have been nice to get like a yellow. Do we have a skin tone? Do we do a skin tone? Is the question. How would this look? It's kind of grayish skin tone. Like maybe if I added a little bit more red to it. And grab this like that. Ooh, that's nice. The only issue is making sure that this lines up, right? And this isn't going to be the final by any means. This is just an experiment, and I'm going to let myself use white and black. And yeah, I'm going to go in with a more, I think, advanced kind of style. Well, that's one option. I won't focus too hard on it if I'm not vibing with it immediately. So let's move on. It doesn't need to be a human. Could do like a tiefling. A pastel-y devil friend. Come back to that concept, but I don't know if I like it. It kind of gives me foresty vibes. Maybe it's like a fairy? Green skin. But yeah, I think that I like that concept the most overall. I think that that's going to be maybe the route that I go down. Something a little bit more fantastical, which seems fun. I'm going to pop you guys over to speed paint voiceover just so that I can get a little bit more complex thoughts out, because it is definitely very hard to draw and to speak at the same time. So I will sort this out and talk to you a little bit about my process when we get there. So see you there. So the basic parameters of this challenge are based in part on a video I saw by Anxie Artist. I had been considering doing something with the fill tool before this, but this gave me a bit more of a layout for the exact challenge. No separate layers for the color and lines, and obviously only the lasso fill is allowed the whole time. The color scheme I wound up going for here definitely reminded me a bit of Poison Ivy with the red hair and green skin, so I wanted to do a sort of defiant pose and angle for this character. I will say, sketching with this method is definitely weird. The challenge is challenging, no one is surprised. I think I rely on contours a lot more than shapes with my sketches, so trying to just lay out solid shapes was difficult. Drawing lines with the lasso is also a weird challenge, and kind of almost results in a very messy chicken scratch sort of situation unless you go back over it. I wanted to lay out most of the colors first before I went into lining to avoid having to deal with annoying overlap, but I definitely still wound up having to deal with it later on. As I did get used to the process, it definitely felt a little bit more freeing to a degree. I was able to let myself mess up and just come back to go over something again, as opposed to having such a stark separation between the sketch and the lines, especially while also having color involved. Usually when I get to color, I want to be done with the lines, but the nature of this challenge results in something a bit more painterly almost, despite the fact that the result also turns out very similar to pop art or comics. My initial thought for this character was really kind of a general forest nymph fairy girl, But as I kept going with all the roots on her body, I realized, oh, a dryad. She's a dryad. I still wound up giving her some fluttery wings at the end, just because I thought it would be fun. I think I'll call this girl Rowan for her kind of rowan berry red hair. Rowan's people are similar to the dryads from Delicious and Dungeon in that they're the flowering and fruiting part of a plant, but developed in a way that they're still pretty sentient. Instead of staying in one place, they often carry their roots on their bodies and venture around. They eat to gain their nutrients and are pretty omnivorous. Instead of a regular digestive system, they let the food break down inside of their body so that it will turn into nutrients for the roots to absorb, sort of like a carnivorous plant. Basically, their whole internal system is roots. Pretty faces and bright hair act as a sort of flower to attract potential pollinators, but they are sapient enough that it's more like how certain human traits come from sexual selection. It helps, of course, but they can still obviously make their own decisions about partners on a bit more of a cerebral level. In a lot of regards, they're very similar to humans. They carry their children like mammals, and they're very individualistic, but they're also very tied to their community, especially the dryads they grew up around. That being said, there are also first-generation dryads that still emerge from trees. They have a sort of psionic connection to each other and plants that they can't quite explain. It's probably something to do with fungi. They have a whole religious system based around it as well. When they die, they take root and become a forest where the other first-generation dryads emerge. Rowan is a first-generation scout, a variety with wings. She's set to adventure beyond her colony and explore the world. Her restlessness might be innate to her biology as a sort of seed for a new forest far away from her first, but in the meantime, she still just wants to have a great adventure. And that is my result from this week's challenge. I went kind of crazy with the lore there, and it may have inspired a little bit more world building to play around with later. I might come back to Rowan here. I love the concept, and I really do like this drawing. The thick lines really give that kind of classic comic book feel, but I think I'll just opt for that in my usual lining style than strictly the lasso tool. That thing kind of hurts my hand. It goes against all the instincts I've built up with my normal art, and it takes a long time to do. But it was fun to step out of my comfort zone, and I hope that you liked this video. Give it a like if you did, and subscribe for more fun art challenges that I do like this in the future. At that though, I'll leave this here, and I'll see y'all next time.